Welcome everybody to our first podcast, Timeless Legacy. We are so excited today to have Christine LaConte from the Dubin Center join us today. Christine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a native of Southwest Florida. I actually started off as a CNA, a professional caregiver, when I was 17.
Wow.
And worked with people that had Alzheimer's and dementia. I'm a mother. I have 4 kids and dogs, and I love to ride my bike and be outdoors.
Wonderful. How old are your kids?
27, 25, and 23. And the 2 25-year-olds, well, she's almost 25. And then I have a new grandbaby too. He's 2.5.
Oh, how exciting. Congrats.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit more about the Dubin Center and what drew you to the Dubin Center.
So I do have a pretty extensive background in both working with the aging population, senior living, and then also in nonprofit. And so this position just seemed like it was a perfect fit. It was the best of both worlds.
Where were you at before the Dubin Center?
I was with the United Way, so we are a partner agency, so it really worked out great.
Very good. Explain how the partner agencies work with the Dubin Center.
So United Way has about 90 plus nonprofits in Lee, Hendry, and Glades counties, and they offer financial support, and they raise all of that money through community donations, corporate donations, and then each agency essentially asks for what they need to continue their programming, and they do that without duplicating any services, and then we all work together. So I work very closely with a lot of the different nonprofits in the area.
Oh, that's great. So explain Dubin Center and what do they do and how they help the community.
It started off in 1995, so we are actually about to celebrate our 30th anniversary.
That's amazing.
And we had some philanthropists from the area that were very giving. They utilized our services.
Mm-hmm.
And then we named the center after them, and that's where Dubin comes in because that's their last name, Zelda and Alvin Dubin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're located in Fort Myers, and we offer our services both in person and online because a lot of our clientele are seasonal because of where we live. Or sometimes they have family members that live in different areas, different states, and we don't ever want a family to feel like they have to have a break in service. So the types of things that we do is offer support groups and caregiver education for families that are supporting someone with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia.
Okay. What do you think the heart of the Dubin Center is? What makes it different from other agencies that are similar to it?
Well, we are local boots on the ground, first of all. Second of all, the education is delivered through social workers that are trained. And so they don't quite work as caseworkers necessarily, but they're really there just offering the beneficial education and the support that's needed. The other part of that is, just being available, being able to support people where they are. There are many areas that do not have a service center like ours. We're local. We're not a national brand. Most of our funding comes from local donations and community fundraisers, so we don't have government grants or anything like that.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about your staff and what all they do.
So we have 3 full-time social workers, and we usually have an intern social worker as well. I have an operations manager, an assistant, and that's us. That's it. So we are a small but mighty team.
That is definitely. Describe what specific programs that you offer at the Dubin Center.
So most of what we do falls into like 4 buckets. So we have our caregiver education, which is called Savvy. It's an evidence-based program, and it focuses a lot on caregiver self-care, and then also really helps the family figure out how to meet their person where they are, have the skills to be able to respond and react to different types of pieces that go along with dementia, so that they can appreciate their moments together with a lot of less frustration and challenges. So that's one, the caregiver education. The second part is our support groups. And we have about 30, 35 a month. again, in person and available online. And some of those support groups are going to focus on the type of dementia, and some are going to focus on the participants themselves. So whether it's a men's group, whether it's a group for early stage, so individuals that are living with dementia, but they're in the earlier stages themselves. And then we have some where caregivers can come into a support group and bring their person to participate in an activity. And that's kind of our third bucket, which is the safe socialization. And we try to allow for as many caregivers and individuals living with dementia to be able to socialize together and enjoy what Southwest Florida has to offer. So we do an out and about program. So we go to places like Farmer Mike's and do a hayride and pick pumpkins, or Edison and Ford Winter Estate Home. We'll go see a baseball game.
Oh, wow.
So it really does provide a special opportunity for our families. And the whole goal with that is to reduce the isolation that many families face.
Yeah.
The fourth thing that we do is a newer program, and it goes along with GUIDE, the traditional Medicare program. And so people that have traditional Medicare and a diagnosis of dementia will qualify for not only our care navigation services, but also a $2,500 respite benefit that renews every July. And so we help families get enrolled in that, and then we see them through that whole process and manage their benefit and stay in touch with them, making sure that they have all the resources and making referrals when needed.
And that's amazing. That's a new program that was just started by the federal government then, GUIDE?
Yes, and it was voted on both sides, so
That's
it's not
amazing.
going anywhere. It's an 8-year pilot program. They were realizing that caregivers themselves were experiencing so much caregiver stress and burden that it was costing Medicare about $4,000 per caregiver. So they thought, all right, well, we'll try to save some money and be a little bit more proactive and preventative by offering this benefit so that caregivers can go and get that tooth pulled if they need to. You know, go to their annual checkups, go play golf, go meet with the girls and have lunch, so they have time for themselves.
So the $2,500 for the respite doesn't have to be used in all 1 week or something like that. They can break it out throughout the year?
They can. They have the full year to use it, and anyone that is getting approved now, you know, in April, they would have until July or June 31st to use it.
Oh, that's
and then
great.
It restarts. Now, this money pays a professional.
Okay.
A professional that is within the network. And they've already been approved by Medicare, and Medicare will fund them. So we're not dealing with, you know, trying to figure out who those individuals are. It works with day centers.
Oh, great.
So it can be a few days a week that you drop this person off, which also there's a benefit for socialization there. And then it also will cover if a caregiver comes into the home. So maybe a home health care, even companionship. It would just need to be a professional.
So even somebody, if their grandchild was getting married or something and they couldn't take their spouse or loved one with them, they could contact you to get on the program to be able to go away for that weekend or that to help pay for that then.
Yes, and it takes
amazing.
about 6 to 8 weeks to go through the whole process and get their approval. Now, groups that do not qualify are anyone that is on the Medicare Advantage program.
Okay.
Anyone that is on hospice or utilizing PACE.
Okay.
Because those programs are already providing those benefits.
Okay. No problem. That's great. Let's go back to the Savvy Caregiver program. So isn't there now 2 levels of that program? Can you explain that?
You know, things work out really well because we were noticing that there was a long waiting list. If someone is interested in taking the education classes, they don't want to wait 6 weeks.
Right.
They don't want to be put on a list. And so they need this information sooner than that. The group that created Savvy came up with a Savvy Express, which is only 3 weeks now.
Oh, wow.
And then the next class is Savvy Advanced.
Okay.
Because they took the feedback. The feedback was, well, my person doesn't really, these types of things that we're learning, it's not fitting right now. My person is too far advanced in the stages of their dementia. I need more. And so they created the Savvy Caregiver Advanced.
That's amazing. And those can be taken either online or in person?
Correct.
Oh,
so
that's
you take
great.
Savvy Caregiver first, whether it's the original 6 weeks or the 3-week express version, and then you can take the advanced.
Oh, that is great. And what's the feedback you're getting from people with the classes?
Oh, it's great. I think at this point, at the end of March, we already had half of the amount of graduates that we had for an entire year last year.
That is amazing. Do you see people who may see that their spouse or their parent may have a family history of it or the beginning of it? Do you encourage them to start taking at least the beginning class now, just so that they're aware of some of the things that may be coming up?
I do. The biggest thing that we hear from the community is, I wish I would have known about you sooner, or I wish I would have known about you when I was caring for my person. And so we do encourage people to come into the Dubin Center as soon as they suspect anything. We provide memory screenings as well.
Oh, wow.
And so they can take that screening over to their primary or to their neurologist and get a formal diagnosis at that point. I do think that we all have a limited amount of time here. And so if a person only has 6 months or 6 years, you really want those moments of that entire time to be positive and quality and moments that really matter. And people that are waiting are going to spend a lot of those moments in frustration and sadness and guilt and really not know what to do.
Yeah.
And so the sooner the better.
What do you think is the most important thing people should understand as a caregiver, or even a family member who may not be the caregiver? And the kids in Southwest Florida, so many of the children or nieces and nephews don't live down here. And they call, and then we hear them on our end going, oh, mom's doing great. Dad, she gets on the phone, she talks to us for a little bit, and dad says things are going great. And then they come down for a visit and they're like, things aren't like this. So what do you say to those people that they should be paying attention more to?
I think that in most cases we hear that the caregiver is trying to either kind of protect and make sure that the rest of the family isn't concerned or worried until it gets to the point where they can't continue on their own providing the care. And I really would like the caregivers to be as open and honest with their whole family so that it can be a family type of support system really for each other. And then for the family that might not live here, believe what they're saying and understand that you're getting a glimpse. And most of us can present very well during a glimpse. And so it is good to be in presence in that physical space if you can, but don't try to hide it. There's a lot of stigma that is still surrounding dementia that we're trying to break. And I think that once we can get over that, then we're going to all be doing a lot better.
That's great. You were talking, one of the programs is socialization, getting them out. And I know, talking to our families and clients, and that is one thing that COVID has taught us. When everything shut down, how much people can decline very quickly without that socialization. Explain why you see that is so important on the medical side, but what have you seen of the importance of socialization and making sure not to just have the person with dementia and the caregiver, just the two of them all day long, and why it's important for both of them to get out?
I think that anytime that we're around anything that stimulates our senses or makes us feel a strong emotion, then we're activating brain cells. And what we're seeing is the socialization, having fun, interacting with people that are positive and that support you. So it's not surrounding yourself with just anyone. If that person tends to stress you or cause a lot of drama in your life, that's not beneficial. We don't want that over nothing, because that's just as dangerous. There is a study from the National Institutes on Health. It's recent, and it shows that individuals that are isolated are affected in the same way as if they were to smoke 15 cigarettes a day.
Oh my gosh.
That's how much damage. So you have to think your brain isn't being stimulated, you're not talking, and for many people with dementia, cognitive decline starts early. It's not just about memory impairment. It's not about forgetting things. It's about the ability to think, ability to respond, to feel emotions, to express emotions, and even physically. So your mobility, your balance, your fine motor skills. Can you still brush your teeth? Can you use a key to get inside the home or the remote? Even visual. Can you see what's on the remote to be able to utilize? So if we're not utilizing those skills, they will decline faster. One of the things that we see that's working is aerobic exercise, specifically because it adds more blood to the brain vessels and it can increase more brain cells, and of course a healthy diet.
Yes.
And then there's some newer studies too that show that a good amount of sleep, usually around that 7-hour point, is really great for anyone that has that amyloid plaque buildup, because there's a cleansing that kind of takes place while we're sleeping. So sleep is really important.
Do people with dementia, do they tend to sleep more because their brain isn't functioning like it used to?
They do. They're working with less in many cases as their brain declines and gets smaller, but they still have the ability in many cases to kind of not decline as fast, not to progress in their disease as fast if they're able to be stimulated and utilize those. I ran a memory care for a few years, and it was really interesting to work with people with different types of activities, transfer work, or utilizing those big tweezers to move a cotton ball to another location because it's the dexterity, and that's the same dexterity you need to be able to feed yourself. Having them help me pour drinks because that's muscle control. Beyond all of that, getting someone involved and helping you with your chores and around the house gives a person a sense of purpose. If someone feels like they don't really have a sense of purpose anymore, then they do tend to kind of fade away in a lot of different ways. So they will sleep more. They will become more tired. And especially being isolated, if there's no stimulation, what's left to do?
Right. What are like the beginning signs that people start to see that they may not be, like you said, it's more than just memory loss? What are the beginning signs that you think people, family members should start look at that they may want to then bring to the primary care doctor to say, we may have some concerns in that?
What's interesting is I just learned recently that people with Alzheimer specifically tend to know they have something going on several years before ever letting any of their family members know.
Is it from being afraid?
It's because we are designed, I think, as humans to figure out the tricks that work for us, right? So if I know that I need extra reminders with my alarm clock or on my calendar, I need to write a list so that I don't forget things. Well, those are my tricks to help me. And as those things start to build up, then we might become concerned. And so for a person that walks into Publix and says, oh, I forgot the milk.
Right.
That can be a part of natural aging. But if I walk into Publix and say, where am I? Why am I here? That's a concern. If I forget an appointment, okay, maybe I need to make sure I have an alarm or a sticky note somewhere. But if I forget all of my appointments, or that I even made the appointment, or what the appointment is for, then that's a concern.
So, yeah, so it's educating yourself on what's natural, crazy, busy life, process of aging versus memory loss and things like that, and other parts of dementia that may come. How many different forms of dementia do they say out there? Hundreds?
Yeah, hundreds. So, that we have our top popular ones, if you will, Alzheimer's being number one. That's usually the most common for people 65 and older. The most common for under 65 is actually what we refer to as FTD, or frontal temporal.
Okay.
And that impacts the area of the brain right behind the forehead. And it doesn't actually present first as memory loss. It's usually a personality change or speech, some sort of communication issue. And that's what we see first. And then that individual, how I mentioned with Alzheimer's, they usually know there's something going on. With FTD, they don't know that anything, they don't believe anything is going on. Even if a family member says, hey, there's something going on here, I don't know what's going on, let's go see a doctor, they will deny it. And it's not out of choice, it's not out of denial, it is that they truly believe nothing is wrong.
Yeah, I've seen clients over the years, they're like, my spouse has completely changed, and I've heard going, I want to get a divorce and stuff like that, only to find out their personality changed because of the frontal temporal
That's
dementia.
why we say FTD.
FTD, much easier to do it
See,
that
we all
way.
have tricks.
Yes. So what would you say, how should a caregiver start to, and I know in the Savvy Caregiver class you probably teach this, but how to step into the shoes of the person with the memory loss, the dementia, to know what they're going through?
Actually, we have a program that we utilize called Virtual Dementia Tour.
Okay.
And this is a program where a person would put on these big bulky gloves and some glasses that will distort their vision, headsets that will distort their hearing. You hear a lot of mumbling and talking, almost as if you're in like a food court or something, or an airport. It's just a lot of background noise. And there's even some inserts for your shoes to let you experience the nerves that can sometimes be affected in different parts of our body. And so then once the person is all kind of set up, then we give them a series of very, very simple tasks, like you would anyone that you're around. Can you take the garbage out and then let the dogs out and, make sure that you call your mom back? That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so if we give this person a series of 3 or 4 tasks, they're going to experience a lot of miscommunication, and they're going to forget because they're frustrated. They're trying to figure out, well, did they say count out 3 of these or 2 of these? And what was I supposed to do with that? And they're having a hard time getting dressed because that's part of it. And so I think it creates a lot of empathy and a great exercise for any professional caregivers that are working in a senior living environment.
That's amazing. Let's say somebody wanted to do that. Do they just call you up to do that, or do you do them certain times of the year? How's that work?
A variety. It's actually becoming one of my most favorite activities to do in the community, because I get to see all these light bulbs go off. And so a professional group can call us and ask for a group type of training, or we can set up where either people come to us like every 20 minutes. I mean, we've done it all different types of ways.
That is really neat. So tell us about this. You have a new program coming up, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been great to be able to participate with our clients, because it's our clients that are telling us where the weak spots are, what is needed still. And I love that. I'm a problem solver. And so I heard a few times where our clients had an issue with either their physical health, maybe having some chest pains and shortness of breath, and they felt like, wow, this is a time where I should really call 911, but I can't. I don't have anyone here to take care of my person. What's going to happen? And then they just hope that it goes away.
Scary.
It is scary. We have had other clients that were not able to do that and did end up either passing out, having to call 911. Maybe their person ends up calling 911. They go to the hospital, and in some cases, EMS ends up leaving the person living with dementia at home alone. We've even had someone able to go to the hospital with them, only to be sent home alone in an Uber.
Oh my.
So we've even had arrests because, the person living with memory impairment is feeling like they're being drugged and forced to take this medication they don't remember ever taking, and their husband's not letting them drive, even though she hasn't driven in over 5 years.
Yes.
And so she's calling 911 on her husband.
Yeah, and the police may not know what's going on in the house.
Right. Again, we can present very well in glimpses. And
Yes.
so we are working with the Cape Coral Fire Department and Police Department, Fort Myers Police, Fort Myers Fire, and the Sheriff's Department to create a alert that will go on a person's address. It'll be linked to the address for dispatch. And so when first responders receive that call, they will see what type of dementia, any kind of alarming concerns, like does this person become aggressive? Do they wander? Are they nonverbal? And then it'll have an alternative emergency contact.
That's amazing.
So if the alternative person does not live in the area, they're in another state, they can still call the other state and they will contact their person that's here.
Right.
If they don't have a person that's here, then we connect them with a program called Just in Case.
Oh, okay.
And this is through Comfort Keepers, and they basically can send someone out, one of their professional healthcare workers, to go and stay with that person.
It's amazing that we're just trying to get day by day, and they don't think of that plan, because caregivers think nothing's ever going to happen to me, because nothing can happen to me. Yeah, and we have seen over the years that, like you said, the caregivers don't take care of their own health, and they let that slip, and then an emergency can happen, and they don't have that plan in place.
Exactly.
So, of doing that. So when is this supposed to launch?
It's already in the works, so I've already trained all of the Cape Coral Fire Department.
Oh, that's wow.
And
that's great.
we have our forms already ready. We already have some of our own clients that have filled out those forms and given the consent. And so now we're working with the Cape Coral Fire Department to get out there. So that'll be the first group.
That's great. I'm sure it's got to be great response from them, because they don't know what they're going into.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Ironically, someone from the Cape Coral Fire Department came into the Dubin Center and said, we are getting calls to homes with someone with dementia and we don't know what to do.
Oh.
And so we were feeling the same concerns that they were feeling. And it just takes community collaboration.
That is amazing.
None of us has to do everything.
Right. How can other people get involved with things at the Dubin and the community at large? We may not have somebody that is at this point in our life affected by dementia or Alzheimer's, but how can the community get involved with Dubin?
Well, because we are a nonprofit, we don't charge for anything. So, of course, we are always seeking donations. The best thing is when a community comes together and they host a fundraiser for us, because you're not pulling our staff out to go and work on fundraising efforts. So that is a blessing. We do have some occasions for volunteers to come in and organize an activity, help out with an activity. We are trying to reduce the barriers for people to come in for services in the way of, as any time that a caregiver is in the building, eventually we'd like to get to the point where they can bring their person and we'll have something for them to do. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. We are closer than we've ever been.
That is great. Give me an example. You said that other people have done fundraisers and that for Dubin. What are some examples of some just ideas for one of the developments? So many people live in different communities in Southwest Florida, or different other social groups or stuff like that. How can they get involved?
So Heritage Palms Women's Golf Tournament, each year, they have selected the Dubin Center for 2 years in a row to receive the proceeds of their golf tournament.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that is, it's tremendous effort. They have a lot of fun and all the women get involved. There is a walk this weekend, a walk run with a new group to us. Spanish Wells is a gated community and they're hosting
That's where my parents live.
Okay. So hopefully they'll be walking
and maybe mom.
Or running. And then Wild Blue is also new to us and they're hosting a tournament as well. They have a Wild Blue Charitable Neighbors, and that's their foundation, and they've selected us for the second year in a row. So without that type of support, we wouldn't be able to continue doing what we're doing.
How many people do you think a year that you have that come in that you support?
We see about 200 per month.
Wow. Wow. And the
Yeah.
goal is to just be there. What counties do you serve?
Lee, Hendry, Glades, and
Okay.
we now go into Charlotte.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. Let's kind of expand on how is the community part of your vision for the Dubin Center in the future?
So if I had a magic wand, I would create a senior center in Fort Myers. We don't have one. And it would allow the different nonprofits in the area that work with seniors to each have a person maybe on staff each day so that our families don't have to drive all over town. They can really make use of a one-stop shop to be able to get everything that they need, as well as have activities there. Our big Dubin Center, if you will, would have a backyard garden to where
I love
our
that.
clients can engage in different types of activities for that stimulation and get back to things that they've always enjoyed doing.
And with this beautiful weather, they can be
is.
outside almost
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
So, and I know over the years with the Christmas caregiver thing is the music. And it's amazing how the people who may even be nonverbal with their dementia, they start hearing music of the old songs and all of a sudden their mouths are moving and they can hear and they're singing. It's magical to watch.
It really is. They start singing.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, after maybe a year of not talking.
Yeah, it is. So I know you have 2 exciting events coming up here. Tell us a little bit about those and how people can get involved.
Right. So I did mention that we are going on our 30th
Yes.
year, which is outstanding. And so for many years, we've done brushstrokes from the soul. And so that was a really beneficial program to allow people to go and see an art institution or installment, if
Yes.
you will, of artwork that was done by those with dementia.
We have several in
Yes,
our office here. I
noticed
love
that.
it.
Thank you. And so to pay tribute to that event, one of gifts at the 30th anniversary is going to be mini brushstrokes. And so we're having people with dementia paint those and donate them to us. And that will be a way to just kind of, pay a tribute and honor. So we have a dinner on May 1st at the Veranda.
Nice.
And we'll have some live music. It'll be in the evening and outside and beautiful in the courtyard. So that's something that we're all looking forward to. We have a lot of people that have been a part of the Dubin Center for many, many years that are going to be there. I know you're going to be there, which is
Yes.
super exciting. And then our next event is just a couple of weeks after that.
Okay.
This is going to be our first annual fundraiser called Backyard Game Day.
We are very excited. We
Yes.
will have a team.
Yes, I'm so excited that the community is really embracing this. We are noticing that families are stepping up, younger families are stepping up and taking on that caregiver role, even as just a supportive person for their parents. And we need to reach those people. We need to broaden our reach and engage people in something fun and give them a way to be able to support as well. So that'll be on May 18th from 4 to 7 at Bay Street Yard. And we're really looking forward to that.
That's
It's gonna be
what are
great.
the games we are going to be playing
Well,
there?
we're-
Little competition.
Yes, we're going to be playing bag toss or cornhole,
Yes.
ping pong, beer pong, and I have a mystery round for the very end.
Very nice.
So,
Very
yes.
nice. And how can people, if they want to go to one of these events, how do they sign up and do all that?
Yeah, we have information on our website.
Okay.
And we're also on social media,
Okay.
so Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn.
And we'll put all that in the notes. So, yep.
And so they can call the center.
And what's the number for the center?
It's 239-437-3007.
Perfect.
And our website is dubincenter.com.
Awesome. What else can you tell us before we wrap this up that you want to make sure people know about the Dubin Center?
The Dubin Center is here to support the community, and we just want families to feel like they don't have to do this alone. And that's our vision, is that no one faces this alone. I lost 2 grandmothers to Alzheimer's, and I would say make those moments matter. Meet people where they are. Do not be the memory police. Join their journey. Appreciate the stories, even if they're not real.
Right.
Because you're going to get more out of that person. You're going to get more quality time with them. And we are here. We're here for whatever you guys need.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your support.
Not a problem. We love you guys. One of the things you were just saying is their stories. A lot of times they will remember those stories from way back when that they may have not shared. I had a client years and years ago that the mom had dementia and the son lived out west. Him and his sister and dad went to go visit her. And before the son had flown in, dad and the sister went to go visit mom at the memory care unit. And she was starting, and they said, oh, your son. And she goes, oh, no. And she started telling a story of when he was like 16 or 17, and he took the car and got in trouble, but only mom found out about it. She never told dad. And here she's spilling the beans. Son's like in his 60s, and mom was spilling the beans, and they thought she made it up. And when the son came in town, they started telling him, he goes, she told me she would never tell. And here it was all these years later, and the family just went, oh my gosh. I mean, it was just such a special story to them. And the dad's like, well, I guess I can't ground you now. And I've heard people that say, take your phone in and record them, because start talking to them. Even like you said, even if the stories don't make sense, you want to make sure that you get their voice and their stories as best as you can. Even to your parents and grandparents that don't have dementia, do it now, because you'll never get those back.
Yeah,
so
very valuable.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. This was awesome, and I appreciate on our inaugural podcast here. Hopefully everybody enjoys it, and definitely visit the Dubin Center and go out to these events. Thanks.
Thank you.